Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be talking to you about 3 amazing YA audiobooks for you to hopefully listen to should you like my recommendations slash reviews of them. I'm a huge advocate of audiobooks. I am a former teacher and I would always say if you couldn't get into reading a book, try the audio. Or if you really struggled with reading, try the audio alongside the book as you have it open in front of you. I just love them. I listen to them in the car. I listen to them as I clean, everything. Some people have, said I really struggle with audiobooks because of the reader or anything of that nature. All I can say is just keep trying. Try as many audiobooks as you can. A lot of them right now are free, which is really cool. You can always find free ones on, YouTube or Audible as well. A lot of the time, Audible, you can download the app and then find free audiobooks in different places. Just keep trying and hopefully you'll become an audiobook, you know, lover eventually. So yeah, let's get started. Book number 1 is When the Sky Fell on Splendor by Emily Henry, and it is read by Amara, Jasper. This book is for all of the Stranger Things fans out there. I'm a Stranger Things fan. I really adore the sci-fi aspect of Stranger Things mixed in with just like this normal town, and all of a sudden this thing arrives and everybody has to deal with it. I love that. And I love the squad in Stranger Things, just like I love the squad in When the Sky Fell on Splendor. It's just great. I love it. So you follow Franny, and she's a typical teenager. She has her group of friends, and together they decide to make another video for their YouTube channel. So they go out to this abandoned farmhouse to film. As they're filming, something really strange starts happening, like the wind picks up, and they go outside and they see this unidentified flying object. Naturally, because the book, it has to be a book, there has to be plot, they go closer to it instead of running away, and they wind up losing time. So they wake up hours later, not remembering what happened, but Franny and her friends have developed powers, and those powers increase as time goes on. And that's a problem because it's not necessarily a good thing to develop powers that you can't control. And the government gets involved. They have to figure out what's going on, what the object was, what it wants, everything, what's going to happen. Yeah, so good. So good. Very much a Stranger Things read alike, if you will. Amara Jasper nails this book. She does such a great job with the pacing. Her voice is excellent. An issue that I have sometimes with audiobooks is that anytime it is a female voice in the dialogue, that voice gets so whiny, and they make that protagonist seem whiny, even though they are supposed to be a heroine of some sort. It drives me batty. Amara Jasper does not do that. She makes Franny a very, the voice is just a very logical and thoughtful girl, makes her a thoughtful girl. I really appreciated that. She does a great job switching from voice to voice, so character to character. You never have to wonder who's talking because she just distinguishes between them so well. And there's a lot of back and forth because you're dealing with teens in this group. So they're making fun of each other, they're poking at each other, they're arguing, and it's very fast. She does just a great job of going back and forth between them, and it's a seamless transition. There are a lot of parts in this book that are very poignant and require great timing, which means you cannot be rushing, you cannot be going too quick. You have to let things breathe, and Amara Jasper nails that too. I think that this is a book that you can listen to and do just about anything. I listened to it while painting my bedroom, and I realized that I had been going for 6 hours when I looked down. Any book that can get me to paint for 6 hours without stopping is a win in my book. Just pop in the earbuds, start listening to it. I think you'll like it, and just enjoy the ride because it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be a fun read. So just enjoy. Book 2 is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, and it is read by Will Patton. I love Will Patton. I think he's amazing. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and a lot of the time, Will Patton actually reads Stephen King books, which I love. Now, Maggie Stiefvater previously wrote 4 books that were in a series called The Raven Cycle, and Will Patton read those too. And so I nearly screamed for joy when I found out that Will Patton was returning to the helm to read Call Down the Hawk, because he was made for these books. He was made for Maggie Stiefvater's writing, to be honest. He just nails it. And I think, remember the Titans, like, you blitz all night. I've never forgotten that line. He's so cool. So you have this book. It's the first in a trilogy. It does follow a couple of the characters from The Raven Cycle. You do not have to have read or listened to The Raven Cycle before starting Call Down the Hawk. However, I personally, as a reader, recommend that you do, because you're going to get so much more out of Call Down the Hawk than you would have previously had you not read or listened to The Raven Cycle. It's also just a great story. You'll love it. So you follow Ronan, and he was a character in the original Maggie Stiefvater 4-book quad thing, The Raven Cycle. And you follow him and his brothers, a couple other dreamers, and some other characters that I'm not going to go too deeply into right now because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But I love Ronan Lynch. He is my favorite of the Raven boys. He always was. And I just think that he is utterly fantastic. He is the anti-hero. He is the character who says whatever he wants. He is the one to make the joke that everyone is kind of thinking, but nobody wants to say out loud. And he makes me laugh. His humor is very dark, and he's very edgy and very breakable, as usually anti-heroes are. And I just really adore him. So he's a dreamer, and he can pull things out of his dreams. Sounds super cool. The issue is that, of course, if you can pull out things from your dreams, you also might be pulling out things from your nightmares. And so until you can control that, it's a huge issue. On top of it, he's dealing, with his boyfriend being at college, being alone because his friends have all gone off after high school to do various things. So he's alone and dealing with that. And someone, or a group, have started targeting dreamers, which is a huge problem because Ronan's a dreamer, and they believe that a dreamer is going to end the world. So they believe that they have to kill dreamers. So that's your main conflict. I highly recommend this book, whether you read it or listen. I think you should definitely listen because of Will Patton. Will Patton's voice has this drawl and this raspiness to it that's just so enchanting. He is able to just elongate his words, and he's so low in the way that he speaks. So you want to almost lean into whatever you're listening, whatever device you're listening to. So like lean into your phone or like press your earbuds a little closer, because it's just mesmerizing, absolutely mesmerizing how he says anything. I could listen to him all day. I think that he's just great. He and Maggie Stiefvater absolutely made for each other. Pure perfection. Give Call Down the Hawk a go. It's a great read, and I promise that you'll just love Maggie Stiefvater. She's a genius. Genius. Book 3 is Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. It is by Mackenzie Lee, and it is read by Christian Coulson. It is a historical fiction novel. It's fantastic. It follows Monty. Monty has been raised to be this very prim and, sophisticated English gentleman. And he's meant to live up to everything he's been born and bred to be. Unfortunately, Monty does not do that. He makes pretty poor life choices. He causes chaos and issues. He just looks everything that he's been given in the face, and you find out possibly it's not for an entirely awful reason, because his home life's not ideal. But he basically flouts this, what he's supposed to do and everything else, and he couldn't care less. He's also in love with his best friend Percy, which is a problem because he won't admit that to Percy because he's afraid to get hurt. So naturally you have, romance, you have historical fiction, great. What happens basically is Percy, Monty, and Monty's sister Felicity, who is just an awesome character. She's so cool. Very like fiercely feminist. She wants to be a doctor, and you couldn't be a doctor if you were a woman in that time. Super, super cool. She's the lead in the sequel, A Lady's Guide to Petticoats Piracy, Piracy and Petticoats. It's one of those. But you follow Monty and the other two on this last hurrah of sorts. They go around, they're touring Europe. It's a last hurrah, as I said, before really they have to commit to their lives and grow up. And it sounds really great and really fun. They have a chaperone, so it's supposed to be a very sophisticated trip. Unfortunately, because Monty likes to make poor life choices, that doesn't happen. And they have to run from, I believe it's the Duke of Bourbon, because Monty steals something from the Duke and the Duke wants it back. And Monty's little slip basically gets them pulled into a mystery that involves murder and super cool magical realism, which was a twist that I didn't see coming. But it's not really a twist, obviously. It's the introduction of magical realism, which is so cool. I love that. This book definitely has, heavy themes and issues, but Mackenzie Lee does such a great job balancing that with humor and like just this feel good vibe that I totally love. I absolutely fell in love with this book. Christian Coulson is wonderful. He is basically everything I would think that Monty would sound like. He captures Monty's, pompous, very self-assured nature in a way that you're like, oh, yep, that sounds absolutely right. And I believe this book won a couple audiobook awards as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's just very good. And also, Christian Coulson, as you're listening to it, you might think, how do I know that voice? I definitely know that voice. He was Tom Riddle in the second Harry Potter movie, The Chamber of Secrets. So he was like a young Tom Marvolo Riddle, which is super cool. So those are the big three. You have When the Sky Fell on Splendor, Call Down the Hawk, and A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Those are three that I've enjoyed the most based upon the narrators. And obviously, even if the narrator's great, the book itself has to be great as well. So if you're not an audiobook lover, but you want to still read these books, you can, because they come in paper format. Who knew? Yeah. I hope you pick one up. If you do, please let me know. If you have audiobooks that you think I should be listening to, I always am in the market for good ones. My Audible library is currently packed, but I'm always looking to add more to it. And if you would like me to talk about any other books or have any other book recommendations, please put it in the comments, because I would love to put those on my list too. And yeah. Until next time, I hope everybody is safe, happy, and healthy out there, and you are all doing okay. I'll talk to you later.